Spider-Man Miles Morales was my most anticipated next-generation game upon the reveal of the PlayStation 5 earlier this year. It shot up my list of favorite superhero licensed video games and reassured me that Spider-Man was my favorite superhero to date. Later that same year, my favorite superhero movie was released, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, helping me further fall in love with the Spider-Man character, but not Peter Parker, Miles Morales. Spider-Man Miles Morales feels like the culmination of this Spider-Man adventure and the perfect introduction to the next generation of gaming. Spider-Man Miles Morales takes place about a year after the events of Spider-Man for PS4, and while it takes place in the same New York City as before, it's now winter and the full Christmas theme and vibe is in full effect. You play as Miles Morales, who at this point is learning to be a young adult and is visiting his mother's new home in Harlem for the holidays. At the same time, he's also learning how to be Spider-Man. Unlike the Ultimate Universe though, Peter is still alive here and Miles isn't learning to replace him, but just to be Spider-Man. It's an interesting twist on the approach to Miles' story. In one instance, Miles is just adjusting to his new life from a personal perspective, exploring Harlem, not just its location, but its people. Likewise, as the new Spider-Man, he has a template for the type of hero the iconic face is, but his take brings his own style and flair to the masked vigilante. As someone that just got done playing through this full-length Spider-Man game 2 years ago, it was refreshing to play as Miles. His point of view feels new in comparison to Peter Parker. Miles' younger age, cultural background, and life experiences feel new while still staying tried and true to the idea of Spider-Man, a young hero given great power and great responsibilities while juggling the stress of being a normal young adult and Spider-Man. His friend Genki, who knows his secret identity, plays the role of the man in the chair and gives us the point of view of the everyday bystander, just excited about the prospect of knowing Spider-Man. This ragtag team of heroes are new to the role of course, and so you can expect them to go through growing pains and the story doesn't shy away from it. If anything, it makes Miles a much more endearing character to be along for this ride as he struggles to maintain it all. If you played Spider-Man for PS4, you'll find a lot of similarities to it here. After all, Spider-Man Miles Morales isn't a sequel technically, but a standalone 10-hour DLC for the original game. With that said, Miles Morales does a great job at holding its ground as its own confined experience with some minor though much appreciated updates to the original's formula. Controlling Miles feels familiar. Holding down R2 lets him swing from skyscraper to skyscraper, and holding down both triggers launches him forward. You get the picture. A lot of the mechanics are the same, but there are some new stylistic changes and features that come with this new Spider-Man. Miles may have similar moves, but his personality shines through every single one of them. He has a much more carefree personality when it comes to traversing New York. The new animations for his skyscraper leap and swings, all these nuanced changes go a long way from keeping what would normally just be a cosmetic reskin to feeling like a whole new character. In fairness, that's because he is one, along with some new abilities and attacks as well. Those that saw Spider-Verse recently know that Miles has his Venom Strike and Camouflage abilities that help him differentiate him from Peter Parker, and they make an appearance here as well. When his Venom meter is charged, you can hold down L1 plus one of the face buttons on the DualSense to activate one of Miles' handful of Venom attacks. This meter is replenished by participating in combat, so you're encouraged to mix and match Miles' various moves towards using your charged finishers for heavier and stronger enemies. These moves are a visual spectacle and work in many scenarios from crowd control to straight up one-to-one matchups. Sprinkling a variety of these attacks in conjunction with this camouflage ability often was the difference between being an itsy-bitsy spider and a full-fledged hero. That new camouflage power also proves to be an interesting new approach to combat. More often than not, I found myself being presented with crowd control scenarios where a stealth approach didn't feel like an option, but the only logical approach. Sure, Peter could do his own stealth approaches in the previous game, but now being able to quickly dip in and out of enemies' view proved to be a vital and game-changing mechanic when it came to combat. With the help of Miles' new visor, I could quickly identify different types of enemies and launch gadgets at different groups to sneak my way around, crowd control in segments, and walk away in style. Not only were these scenarios fun to execute, but they were also fun to watch. Outside of the combat changes and improvements, I found a lot of quality of life improvements to be in the mission structure. While there's plenty of side missions to do around New York City, there's more variety in them. Yes, partially because there's less of them, but a lot more meaning is given to them as well. Not only did this encourage me to go do these missions, but I found them to at times be as enjoyable as the main missions, occasionally unlocking a cool suit or featuring a funny callback to the first game. Actually, speaking of suits, there are a few new ones here, some inspired by the character's appearance in other mediums such as the Spider-Verse suit. I always wish this was added to the first game, and I'm glad it makes an appearance here. Insomniac certainly went above and beyond with it, adding in not only the cosmetic suit, but also a suit mod that has it run at the same frame rate as the movie. While yes, it's a bit jarring to play the entire game like this, getting to mess around with it for a few minutes while Spotify played the movie soundtrack, it was absolutely jaw-dropping. This might have been sourced from the PS4 generation game, but Miles Morales looks amazing on next-gen hardware. Yes, you still can play this on the PS4, but playing on PS5, this game is leaps ahead of the original. Ray tracing adds some realistic-looking reflections across New York City's buildings, while improved lighting and city population makes New York City actually feel more like the densely populated city. It's a town of beautiful looking buildings cultivating in this densely populated area, and it's no better represented than in this PS5 release. Character Miles also look phenomenal with this release. I think outside of the more realistic skin and lighting reflected on said skin, character's hair get the biggest improvements here. It's most easily demonstrated in cutscenes, even those close-ups during the title menu. With the PS5 release, you can choose between a resolution mode that prioritizes 4K resolution at 30 frames per second, but with all the bells and whistles of ray tracing. The performance mode, on the other hand, drops a lot of those next-gen improvements, but keeps the resolution at around 1440p with a consistent 60 frames per second. Admittedly, playing at 60 frames per second made it incredibly hard to go back to 30 FPS, even with the improved visuals, and for that same reason, I played my first playthrough entirely in the fidelity mode and played some of the post-game in performance mode. Spider-Man Miles Morales introduces a handful of new songs that fit right at home with Spider-Man's new home. While Peter would visit his aunt's home in his own apartment, nothing really felt like a centralized home for him. In Miles' case, Harlem is his home, a subdivision of New York City filled with diverse and rich cultures that are ever present in the game's presentation. I love hearing Miles' new theme, and I felt perfectly represented his approach to being Spider-Man. Actor Najee Jeter also reprises his role, bringing a sense of a young teen's excitement to getting to be Spider-Man, but also with a great sense of the responsibilities that role carries. This being a PS5 launch game also gave it the opportunity to demonstrate the console's new DualSense haptic feedback. In many ways it surprised me, not because it was bad, but I guess because of how it was used. It wasn't the web swinging or web shooting feedback that impressed me, that felt just okay. Instead, it was the subtle touches during cutscenes like the vibrations of New York City's subway rushing through the underground tunnels, or the subtle vibrations that played to doors closing or my footsteps. On paper, I wouldn't really think much about these, but in person, they were the cherry on top of this immersive sundae. Don't let the standalone DLC title fool you. Spider-Man Miles Morales is more than a worthy game and story worth telling and playing. In many ways, it sees improvements from the original game while introducing some exciting new story elements that'll no doubt bring the culmination of Miles and Peter's respective journeys. Likewise, it proves to be an exciting introduction to Sony's next generation, and it shows what we can expect from a true Spider-Man sequel, which in itself is a false statement on my part, because despite this game not having a 2 in the name, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales is a true and great sequel. It's a great Spider-Man game, and Miles is an even better Spider-Man.